Wow, there's a lot of people up here. Huh. So I was trying to think of like the sequence of events that got me into where I am right now in front of everyone. So a couple months ago, my team and I were talking with our friends at Kenshu, and they're telling us, hey, you got a unique story. You know, Zappos is doing something that not a lot of people are doing out there with Facebook paid ads. So, you know, let's try and get your story out there and see if we can't, you know, help some people out there save some money. So we put a pitch together and talked to the folks at OMMA Global, and I was expecting, okay, well maybe I'll just do like sit on a panel, you know, and just 5 minutes and just do like a QA session, right? And then, you know, a week later I find out that I'm going to be on the main stage, you know, just me up here, and no backup. And really, I need to follow the guy that's saving panda bears or polar bears. Come on. No, I'm excited to be here. I think we have an interesting story that we can help, we can share and help some folks out there with their media buying that they're doing on Facebook. But before I get started, a friend of mine told me that any good presentation needs to start with either a joke or a lie. A joke or a lie. And I can't think of any jokes off the top of my head right now, so let me just say that I'm really excited to be here in front of you right now. But all right, jokes are over. So Zappos drives them in with Facebook ads. I got a clicker right here. I'm like, what do I touch? Ah, there it is. Okay. So that's a email distribution list if you want to hit us up. We're totally open to collaboration, just talking with people. Within my team, we handle Facebook paid ads. We do the fan page, so if there's anything you guys want to talk about, we're totally open. And if you want a coupon for Zappos.com, just hit us up. We get 20% off for friends and family. And keep that in mind, too, when you're tweeting about me. That's my Twitter handle, Rip City Raps. I don't really tweet, but if you want to say anything about me, you might as well tag me. Just say nice things. Oh, forward. Okay. So a little bit about Zappos. We were founded in '99. We were actually founded here in the Bay Area. I think our original offices were just off Van Ness. And about 2005, we moved to Las Vegas. Our brand is built on what we call the 4C, so customer service, culture, clothing, and community. A little bit about myself. I've been with Zappos for about almost 4 years now. That's my little ad, I guess, for myself. I'm a social marketer with my eye on the ROI. I enjoy hiking, playing racquetball, and just living in Las Vegas. It's a fun place to live. There's a recent revitalization of downtown that's going on, and Zappos is a big part of that, and being involved with the community. There's a lot of tech companies that are starting up right now in Las Vegas. So if you're ever in the area, you know, Thursday nights we're doing jellies at the coffee house at Emergency Arts. There's a lot of collaboration that's going on. It's really cool to be a part of. So if you're ever in Las Vegas, just come stop by. And that's our backyard. If that's not reason enough to come hang out with us, and that too. Pool parties. Cool. So let's get started. So this says summer of 2010 is when we started really getting serious about Facebook paid ads. But it really started early 2009. We did a quick test with Facebook paid ads. We've been a big advertiser on Google and the search engine. Search engines. That's a big part of our business. And we realized there was a need to branch out to new channels and grow different channels so that we're not dependent just on certain large channels. For your business, it could be search engines, it could be affiliates, comparison shopping engines, what have you. But we realized that we wanted to get into something new, new sources of traffic and potentially finding new customers. So we tried it in 2009 and it just didn't work. And I'll get back to that in a second. But 2010, Kenshu was working on a social ad editor product, and they approached us saying, hey, we think this is going to be big. We think you should try it again, and you should reevaluate, one, your success metrics, and two, maybe you need a better tool to work on it with. So here's an example of one of our first ads. I realized last night that actually the ads back then were a little different, right? The headlines were on top, image, and then the body underneath. But this is the same ad copy, headline, image, ad. That's one of our original ads, right? So some key milestones. So early on, we were spending, a couple $100s a day, testing it out, trying new things, discovering new targets, and the only really way to find out if things work with Facebook paid ads is to test it and see how the traffic comes and see if it converts. It's a little different than search, right? Like search, you get that feedback loop from Google. You start with some broad terms and you can discover which terms you want to exact match, right? So you can start broad and just narrow in on certain pockets of the targeting that work. Facebook's a little different. So we started off a little slow, but it took some time and we were patient with it. And eventually that first year, we were spending about $1,000 a day. And then, not long after Q4 is our biggest season, obviously, we're retail, we were spending almost $20,000 on certain days in December. And then this past Q4 2011, we had a couple $70,000 days. Now these are all in the marketplace. We're not doing homepage buys. We're not doing premium buys. We're not doing sponsored stories. To date, we've spent about $8 million on Facebook paid ads, and 99% of that's driven traffic to the website. I think that's a unique story. Our ad reps at Facebook, they're great. They help us out, and they're trying to sway us toward, hey, acquire fans, and then you can remarket to them. We did a little bit of that, but we recognized that the best value that we could get out of Facebook, and specifically the paid ads, was to drive traffic. And we've been able to sustain a good ROI out of that. So why would you want to get started with Facebook paid ads? Preparing for this, I tried to think of who would be in the audience, and I guess I broke it down into either you're advertising on Facebook already or you're not. And then those that are advertising, you're either trying to acquire fans or you're trying to broaden the reach of you're trying to communicate with your fans now, right? It's not free anymore. You have to, only like 15% of your fans are even going to see your posts. You're going to have to use Reach Generator now. So either you're working that angle or you're doing what we're doing. And one of the major reasons why we wanted to get into this was to reduce our dependency on large direct marketing channels, right? We want to diversify our ad spend. So for following Wu-Tang Financial, diversify your bonds, similar concept. We also recognize it's a good source of new customers. One of the ways that we've discovered who we should be targeting is we started with our core customer, and we realized, okay, well, she's a woman, she's a certain age, and she likes certain things, right? And so we're going to be able to find new customers that are similar to our existing customer base, using learning from who our existing customers are. And there's also an opportunity as well as branch out into new markets that we're not really familiar with, or that don't visit our site as frequently as others. Facebook also represents about a quarter of US display impressions. So if you think about all the ad exchanges and the display networks and all the different platforms you'd have to figure out to reach that many users on the internet, with Facebook, you just figure out one platform. You might have a tool that helps you optimize it. For the most part, you figure out that platform and you instantly plug into a quarter of the US display impressions. That saves a lot of time and saves a lot of resources. You don't have to have a team that knows how to work with certain networks. It's just one network. It also feeds the funnel. In the same way that you think of like a head term in search that's going to then drive category and then the long tail, Facebook does the same. So we've done a little bit of research on this. This isn't our data, but it kind of represents the breakdown of the way you look at attribution models or the way you look at the conversion paths that include both Facebook and search. So these are conversion paths that start on Facebook and end in search. So obviously, if you're only measuring last touch, you're not going to get any credit. No credit's going to be given to Facebook. And then first only, you're going to get about 14%, 15% conversions that would have been given to search. Now you're getting them to Facebook as well. So this, again, this isn't real data, but this kind of shows the point that a lot of traffic that's going to be generated, or a lot of users that are going to be coming through your Facebook paid ads as their first touch are then going to come through other channels. You need to make sure that you have a long enough cookie duration that you're able to see this window of the conversion length, and you also have a smart enough attribution model that you can give the credit where it should be given. So measuring success, I think this was one of the main problems that we had when we first tried running Facebook paid ads. You got to be patient. It's going to take some time. I'm here to give you some tips that kind of slow down that time it's going to take you to get it figured out. But even then, our experience might not reflect others or yours, or if you were to try tomorrow and take everything I have to say, it might not work for you, right? You're going to have to be patient with it. Realistic ROI expectations, it's not search. You're not going to be able to get the same ROI that you get from other direct marketing channels. And that's something that we realized pretty early on. Our original test, we didn't think it worked right, but when we look back, it was actually pretty successful. It's just we had the expectation that the ROI of our efforts were going to be pretty close to the ROI of some other channels. So we had to reset our expectations. I think one way you can look at that is, within I'm assuming most people here advertise on Google, and so you're already doing search. And if you already believe that a head term is going to drive traffic to, or drive multiple queries, and it's going to be picked up by your tail terms, there's an allowable ROI that you have for that head term because it's high volume and it's not going to convert as well. But okay, if I have a 3 to 4 ROI on my head terms and my long tail is going to be about 10 to 12, and my branded keywords are going to be up in the 50s, 60s, that's going to even out to about 6 to 1 ROI. Well, Facebook doesn't really have the luxury of different types of traffic that are going to come through. It's going to be pretty similar. It's all going to be head terms. So think about the ROI expectations of Facebook as Facebook's just it's only head terms. It's only search head terms. So what are your ROI goals on a non-branded search head term? And that's kind of how we've thought about what our ROI expectations should be. And I kind of spoke a little about the cookie duration, but this graphic shows, and again, this isn't our real data, but it shows pretty similar to what we see. We follow this rule, like the 50-50 rule. So we found that for the most part, between 40 and 60% of our conversions happen within 1 day of the click. So we've used that for some modeling that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But for this purpose, if you're only looking at the last click, you're going to miss out on a lot of attribution. And two, if your cookie duration is, if you're only looking at a single session, you're going to miss out on 50% of the potential revenue. Right? So you have to think about, are you assigning enough value to your efforts on Facebook to where you're counting as much revenue as possible. Also think about secondary conversions too. So if your primary goal is to drive traffic and revenue, well, there's also some secondary conversions that, because it's a social channel, you're going to get people to share. There's going to be likes on your brand, and there's going to be potential for post-purchase share if that's what you have on your site. And on one hand, you might argue that, well, any traffic coming to the site is going to be able to share your content. It's going to like your brands, like your product pages, or like your brand if you have that enabled on your site. But what we found is that the traffic coming through from Facebook paid ads tends to share and like our content more frequently than the average customer. So if we recognize that that's happening, how can we assign some value to that extra action that it might not necessarily be our primary goal, that when they get to the site that they're going to be sharing, but there's value in that, right? So we've looked into share attribution. So there's a couple technologies out there that is doing this, and the simple concept is, right, you have an ad, you get a click, it comes to the site, and you drop a cookie on the user. And then so when they like your product, that then generates a story that shows up in the newsfeed. Now the friends of that user are now going to see that in the newsfeed, or if they're on the wall or now the timeline, they're going to happen to see that story. They're going to click through, and they potentially could be the one that converts. So if you think of a flow like this, and if it's something that we recognize happens quite frequently, that's more value that you can attribute to your ad. Now, it's not something we optimize on a daily basis. We've done some studies and we recognize, the value of a share. The way we think about it is, let's say our ROI expectations for our ad efforts are 4 to 1, and that includes the fact that we know there's going to be other conversions in there that have value, right? So we bake it into our ROI goals. So a question I want to pose is, are your measurement tactics undervaluing your Facebook efforts? Because that was a big issue for us, why we felt like it didn't work. I think if you set your expectations where they should be, you can actually see some success out of paid ads. So I'm going to kind of start from the beginning and go over some learnings that we had. We've been doing this for about 2 years. I'm going to start with year 1. So year 1 was, trying to figure this out. Is this going to be sustainable? Can we make this work? And where we started is, well, who are we going to target? So like I mentioned, we started with our core customer. We know a little bit about her. We know what she reads. We know what she watches. We know where she lives. So we use that information that we already had. Our brand team use that, and our media buying agencies have used that for television flights, buying ads in magazines and things like that. And all that's targetable on Facebook. So we started with that, started targeting those TV shows, likes and interests that we knew about her. And there's also our fan base on Facebook. We have about 250,000 fans, and there were ways early on where we could figure out common interests of our fans. So let's say, of those 250,000 fans, we find that, a large number of them happen to also like yoga. So let's target yoga, right? And then again, it's not going to be guaranteed that targeting fans of yoga on Facebook is going to work. It requires testing. And let's say it works, then we can take that a step further and then discover, of those people who like yoga, what are other common interests that those people have to to branch out. Now, once we kind of came up with some ideas of who we thought we wanted to target and what could be effective, the next question is, okay, well, so what do we show them? I guess the way to think about this is, we're not using targeting as a way to know exactly what someone wants to see. Say someone who likes hiking, we're going to show them hiking boots, and we can show them hiking gear and show them only hiking content. But early on, I thought, and this was based on my own experience, someone who likes hiking, that's all they're going to see in the ads. So that's because everyone's going to be doing the same thing. They're only going to see hiking ads because they've said they like hiking, or if I say I like yoga, I'm going to see ads about yoga. So we've used likes and interests instead of using our targeting to inform what we're going to promote. We used targeting as a proxy for some level of affluence, so they do fit our customer profile. And then from there, we came up with the strategy so we're not going to promote specific brands. We're going to or promote some of the smaller brands. We're going to promote the most popular brands and the most popular categories at any given time, using some of the signals that we have. So if, based on the time of year, obviously, if it's Q4, we're going to be pushing Uggs and Hunter boots and things like that, Sorel. And now, as it coming to sandal season, we're going to be pushing Dansko, Clarks, brands like that. And the next question is, okay, so now we know who we're targeting, what we're going to show them, where are we going to land them? And we came up with this little slogan of, we're going to show them the core and a little more. So we would find landing pages on our site that had exactly what the ad had. So let's say for that Dansko ad that I showed, there's going to be Dansko product on the landing page, but we're going to show them a little more in case that's not quite what they might want to be seeing. The difficult thing with Facebook ads, there's fewer signals of intent. They clicked on the ad, so there's some intent there, but we don't quite know why they clicked on the ad. They could have recognized a product and they want to see that specific product when they land on the site. They could have recognized a brand that we mentioned in the ad copy and they want to see that brand. They could like just the category. If I'm showing boots and I happen to show a 9 West boot, they might not necessarily want to see that boot, but they saw boots. Okay, oh, well, Zappos has boots. Let me go check that out. So to kind of solve this, this problem of not quite knowing what to show, we show pretty similar images or pretty similar products of what they would have seen in the ad, and then some more. So we had to find pages that on the site that currently existed or existed at that time to solve that. So here's a little example of how that would look. So with an ad, rain boots at Zappos, it has a hunter image, but we're not necessarily saying, oh, actually it does say hunter in the copy. We're going to send them to a page like this. It takes a step back. It's a category page. We're not landing them on that specific image, but they're going to be able to find that product within maybe 1 or 2 clicks. And then there's more content that the more navigational links that they could follow if they want to. So when I mentioned the idea that 50% of our conversions happen within 24 hours, we would use this early on to make faster decisions. So with our ads early on, we realized that when we found good campaigns or we ran good campaigns, they wouldn't last very long, a couple days, a couple weeks if we were lucky. So when we started a campaign, we had to recognize pretty early on if it was going to be a bust or if it was going to be successful. So we use that idea of the 50% of the conversions. So the day one when we start a campaign, if its ROI was about half of what it needed to be by the end of the campaign, we were okay with it. We figured, okay, by the end of that campaign, it was going to hit its ROI goal. And campaigns that were already hitting the ROI goal within 1 day, we knew it was going to crush the ROI. So we would throw more money at that and try and exploit that targeting that we had at that given time. And anything that didn't perform early on, we realized it's probably not going to convert. We'd cut it pretty quickly, and it helped us save a lot of money, save a lot of time too, that we wouldn't have to go back and work on a campaign that really wasn't working. We could move on to the next one. And in the way we had to learn which targeting worked well, you don't have time to work on campaigns that are targeting things that don't work. You need to keep moving and keep testing the next thing. So if year one were a time when we were trying to figure it out, and there was some promise that we had after Q4, right? We had a couple days that we're spending $20,000. That's an indicator that we were starting to figure it out. Year two was, how do we make this scale, and are we willing to make some sacrifices on the conversion rate and the efficiency of our clicks to scale and to grow it to a bigger channel so that it does compare to some of our other customer acquisition channels. So we started to experiment with larger targets. Early on, we were targeting sizes of 200 to 300,000 people. And then early year two, we started trying to get up into the millions. And what we found is, first, we were getting lower CPCs. So Facebook's minimum suggested bid was going to be a little lower, just because our targeting was a little more broad. And that also led to longer lives. So if I had an ad that was targeting 100,000 to 200,000 people, I was lucky if it lasted longer than a week. But an ad that targeted 2 to 3 million people, could last upwards of 2 to 3 months. And that saved me time. Early on, I found that the conversion rate worked well, and it was going to have a sustainable ROI by the time that the campaign was over. I could move on to the next one, and that helped us grow our business. I also found that you have a higher click-through rate as well with larger targets, and haven't really been able to understand why. I kind of have some hunches, but just to show you something that's actually live right now, these two sandal ads are live. One's targeting 50 million people, and the other's targeting 2 million people, and they're both cloned. And by cloned, I mean each one is in its own campaign, and it has about 4 or 5 copies of that same ad, just to make sure that Facebook's ad algorithm doesn't favor one over the other, and it has a fair chance. Like that creative has a fair chance of getting its impressions delivered, whether it's a single ad or in this case it's 5 ads. That copy is going to be exposed to get as many impressions as possible to get enough data to make decisions. So this one has a 2x click-through rate, and its CPC is half of the other one. Now, if you're targeting 50 million people, it kind of goes against what's possible with Facebook, where you can get hyper targeted with who you're targeting and the content that you're showing them. But in this instance, a larger target is apparently more relevant to, or the content that we're showing that larger target is apparently more relevant to them. We're still trying to figure out what's going on, but this is something that we're seeing, and this is kind of like attest to the things are constantly changing, and we might have a good story that we figured some things out. We've been able to get a sustainable ROI out of this, but we still are trying to figure some things out. No one knows exactly what's going on. Earlier too is when we also came to realize that when we targeted someone was more important than who we actually targeted. So around the same time that we started experimenting with larger targets, we were also running studies on the efficiency of clicks by the time of day and the day of week. And we found that campaigns with all things equal, except for the time and for the targeting, the campaigns that were day-parted during the most efficient time outperformed the ones that weren't day-parted, but who were targeted to our most, I guess, our best targets at that time. So day-parting during the most efficient times has allowed us to kind of get around the difficulty of discovering a lot of new targets and having larger targets, but still being efficient. And then day of week as well. And around year 2, we also started to do more landing page refinement. So instead of choosing landing pages that already existed on the site, we had a little more flexibility of what we wanted, what elements of a landing page we wanted to have on the page. So I'll show an example again. So these are 2 ads that could be running. They're pretty similar. One's talking about a specific brand, one's talking about the category, and they're both going to land on a page like this. And so the images that you saw in the ad are going to be on there. So if that's why the Facebook user clicked it, they're going to see a product that they saw, and they'll click through, and within probably 2 clicks they could probably buy. And the logo for Clark's is on there as well. So if they recognize the Clark's brand and that's why they wanted to click the ad, they're going to find what they need. And then there's also on the left side as well, there's navigation by brand, and we chose only the top brands that we sell Clark's, or sorry, sandals for. And with changes like this, we were constantly testing this against product pages, against search results pages, against existing pages, and every time we ran the test, these pages would keep winning out. So around this time too, we also started to recognize that there's this natural flow of Facebook activity, and that also influenced the traffic that we were getting through our ads. So certain days of the week, without us changing our budgets, changing our bids, would drive almost 2 times the amount of impressions as other days. So we started to question that. Well, 1, do we want to follow that natural trend? Is that going to be the most efficient use of our spend? And then 2, if we don't want to follow that natural trend, how do we understand the ROI that's going to come the day after we spend 2x, when the spend then drops again and our ROI is going to be inflated? So we started to think about the efficiency of clicks and the conversion rate of clicks by day of the week, and we did some modeling. So in Q4 last year, when we spent $70,000 a couple days, the day before, based on the amount of traffic that we had driven within 2 weeks prior, we took all that data and figured out the conversion rate that would happen tomorrow, and we would come up with how much we were willing to spend tomorrow, or how much we could spend tomorrow to maintain our ROI goal, while also maximizing revenue, to see how much we can drive out of it. In those days that we spent $70,000, that's what we were doing. And new customer acquisition. So we found that Facebook as a channel, the orders that come through our Facebook paid ads have a higher rate of being new customers than any other channel that we have. As a company, it's a big goal for us this year to optimize around new customers and drive new customers. I mean, it's always been a focus. It's always been something we tracked, but now we're actually tracking it on a daily basis and optimizing around it. And we found that Facebook drives new customers. So what's next? There's some things that we're starting to test now, and there's some things on the horizon that we feel can make us more efficient. Like I said, we're always testing new things. We've got a good story of like what's worked so far, but things are always changing, and we want to be more efficient with our spends. There's ways that we can target new targets or discover new targets based on data that's already out there, like data that we buy already on our customers. So we know that they like certain things, and we already, our initial targeting was informed on that, but now any user that's coming through the site or sites that we're tagging with the right tags, we were able to match them up with user profiles that are built out from people's behavior online. And the key is being able to map their behavior online that some of these data providers have, and mapping that to likes and interests on Facebook that are pretty similar to that. Something that we've been working on, and kind of goes against the concept of how we want to scale through broadening our targets, is that we want to close the loop between what people like and then what they buy, and have that inform targeting and creative. So going back to the example I mentioned about hiking, that we would show them hiking boots. Well, that might not be the case. From the data that we have on our customers and our fans, we already know what they buy. We have all that data on our customers right now. But if we're able to match our customer information up with what people like on Facebook, and use that to inform what we should be showing, we feel like we can be a lot more efficient, and use that as a better signal of what we should be, the content that we should be showing people who see our ads. And then contextual relevance. So there's this idea of using cues and what's going on in the world that might not necessarily be targetable on Facebook, but the best example is location. Things that happen in someone's area or could potentially be what influenced them to buy something. Best cases, or best example, is weather. So people buy clothing and shoes based on, in different seasons based on the weather. The last couple of days it's been snowing in Oregon. People might still need to be buying Sorels or Hunters or Uggs at that point. We can use that data that's out there, weather APIs, and use that to inform who we want to target and what we're going to show them. So that's it. If there's any questions, you can grab me afterward. I'm totally open to talking one-on-one, or if you want to email, social@Zappos. Again, Twitter handle, RipCityRhapsody. And then if you're interested in taking a tour of Zappos, if you're ever in Vegas, check out Zappos Insights. And then to learn a little more about what's going on in the tech scene in Vegas, there's Vegas Tech. Thanks.
We have time for a couple questions. Anyone have questions? You have a question, Ken?
Yeah, hey, my name is Lee. I was curious, are you guys looking to bring the e-commerce experience inside of Facebook at all? And what are your thoughts around that? Yeah,
so we've tried it before. There's a couple ways to think about it. There's what people call like F-commerce or social shopping, and recreating, I guess, all of our products, or a way to purchase any of our products on the fan page as a tab. And the way we've thought about that is we don't necessarily want to have users on Facebook check out there, but if there's a way that we can help them discover new products through apps that are a little smarter than our site and they can tap into that social data that people carry around with them on Facebook. That's the direction that we would go. And early on, there were testing that we did some testing where we created tabs on our fan page that looked pretty similar to a landing page that we would use on the site. And the idea behind that being, there's a huge bounce rate when someone clicks our ads and goes to the site. So either it's a jarring experience and they didn't realize that when they clicked the ad that we're going to leave Facebook. So we thought, well, let's keep them on Facebook and maybe recreate the landing page experience on Facebook. What we found when we did testing, though, is it dropped the bounce rate when we kept them on Facebook, but conversion rate was significantly higher when we took them directly to the site. Does that answer your question?
You said you're not doing any of the premium ad units, but there's so much momentum and push from Facebook to use those. What are your thoughts about the premium units?
Yeah, there is a lot of push from Facebook to go that direction, and I guess if we were to, if it's inevitable that the marketplace is going to change to where every ad will have to be supported by a story from a page, I think that's something we're going to have to look into. We're definitely keeping our finger on the pulse, making sure we're in the loop and we know if that's the direction it's going to go, that we should start thinking about a different strategy to drive traffic to the site. I've already seen some ads now that are leveraging the premium ads and sponsored stories, but they just link off to the site. And so we would have to find some strategy that works that way. The post from the fan page links to the site and you sponsor that, right? And you have a bigger image and it's a bit bigger ad unit. But if we were to go that direction, it would still be direct response, driving to the site, ROI, dollars in, dollars out. Not to say that we won't ever get to the point where we feel that we can justify some media buy to help our fan page be more engaging, but so far we felt that the best uses of our money on Facebook right now has been to drive to the site and acquire new customers.
Elaborate a little bit more on how finally you can target based on what people have liked and how that works.
It'd be cool if like a live demo to go into the Facebook platform, but anything in someone's profile is targetable. So gender, where they live, their age, any profile information that they've filled out is targetable. And then there's also likes and interests that they've clicked a like button, that's targetable. And going forward with the new social actions that are rolling out right now, you can target based on things people have listened to on Spotify, articles they've read on Washington Post. All those stories that are generated in the newsfeed, they are nodes in the graph that you're able to target. So for us, like I said, our core customer, middle-aged woman, lives in certain places. That's who we're going to be targeting. But we've also experimented as well with targeting outside of that demographic too. Trying to think of some specific examples of likes and interests. Some of the things that we found success from, we targeted people who like San Francisco. Now, does that mean that they live in San Francisco? I'm not sure, but somewhere in their profile, they've said, they have an interest in San Francisco, and they might have clicked a like button somewhere. But I guess without kind of showing some details of how to do it, I don't know how else to explain that. I know there's I've attended events that are put on by some folks, and if you want to kind of watch a cool event that kind of goes into all that detail, Marty Weintraub's someone interesting that you can watch, and he goes into detail on, targeting someone who lives in Austin, who likes cats, who's from, or went to this school and things like that. obviously I'm not as creative to come up with that on the spot, but if you check out his blog, he's got like a long list of what's possible, what you can target, and something funny and interesting that you could show him as an ad.
Cool.